is Matthew 13, 24 through 29, and 36 through 43. Jesus then told him the story. The kingdom of heaven is like what happened when a farmer scattered good seed in a field. But while everyone was sleeping, an enemy came and scattered good seeds in the field and then left. When the plants came up and began to ripen, the farmer's servants could see weeds. The servants came and asked him, "Sir, didn't you scatter good seed in the field? Where did these weeds come from?" "An enemy did this," he replied. His servants then asked, "Do you want us to go out and pull up the weeds?" "No," he answered. "You might also pull up the wheat. Leave the weeds alone until the harvest time. Then I'll tell my workers to gather up the weeds and tie them up and burn them. But I'll have them store the wheat in my barn." After Jesus left the crowd and went inside, his disciples came to him and said, "Explain to us the story about the weeds in the field." Jesus answered, "The one who scattered the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed are the people who belong to the kingdom. The weed seeds are those who belong to the evil one, and the one who scattered them is the devil. The harvest is the end of time, and the angels are the ones who will bring in the harvest. Weeds are gathered and burned. That's how it will be at the end of time. The Son of Man will send out the angels, and they will gather up from the kingdom everyone who does wrong and causes others to sin. Then he will throw them into a flaming furnace, where people will be crying and gritting their teeth in pain. But everyone who has done right will shine like the sun in their Father's kingdom. If you have ears, pay attention." I often wondered if Jesus ever got upset with or short with his disciples. When he taught, he would give great stories, parables on how to live, and in this case, in the judgment day. And as he speaks to the crowd, the apostles stand near him, agreeing with him. That's what I would say. And then, when the crowd's left, they all gather around him and say, "What did you mean? Who would go put weed seeds in a field? And what do you mean by all this?" These were the guys who were going to spread the good news, and they don't have a clue. As I got older, I realized the questions were not only for them, but for me. I'm a thickhead who needs to have the parables broken down and spoon-fed to me so that I can understand what they are saying. They're just asking the questions I would probably have asked if I were standing there. But on to the garden. When I at one time went to a master gardening seminar, one idea they talked about was how to plan and organize your garden. You should plant your plants in alphabetical order: asparagus, beets, carrots. This way, weeds are at the end. One plant I would like to talk to you about is the taraxacum plant. Its young leaves are used in salads. Its flowers are used to make wine and herbal tea. When the roots are crushed and a white milky substance comes out, the ancient Egyptians made a medicine out of that used for headaches. It also has great anti-inflammatory properties and is also used in curing other illnesses. So what is the name of this miracle plant? We all know it well. Its name comes from the French of tooth of the lion. We know it as the dandelion. The bane of lawn care people everywhere. But is it a weed? Weeds are bad. Or are they? In today's reading, the farmer said, don't pull the weeds. You will damage the weed. The farmer did not want the workers to make the choice, which is good and which is bad. At the harvest, the choice will be made, and the farmer will make it. I was one time told that weeds were plants that didn't learn how to grow in straight lines. So what am I? A weed or a weed? Well, sometimes it depends on the day. I would like to think I'm a weed, but in my heart I know I'm closer to a weed. Way back in my former life, we had a family business, a flower shop, garden center, and a range of greenhouses. One day I had a customer come in and ask me for advice about her garden, her yard. She just bought a house, and in the backyard, there were beautiful perennial gardens. They really were a nice layout, very well thought out. It was early spring, and the plants in the yard were just starting to come out. And so were the weeds. She told me she started to clean up. She was pulling out weeds in the yard, and about halfway through she decided that she became concerned that she might be pulling out or damaging the flowers. And could I come by and see what she was doing and check to make sure she was right? Well, when I got to the house, I found some of the best manicured weed gardens I had ever seen, and a compost pile of the nicest perennial root material in town. After an afternoon of plant identification lessons, we were able to salvage most of the good plant material, and we got our yard back on track. It was spring, and the weeds just happened to flower up first. She didn't know. The real question is, when we are in other people's gardens, the garden of life, do we really know who is the weed and who is the weeds? Are we too quick to pull and too slow to wait for the harvest? Do we make judgment calls that should be left to a higher authority? Who is to say we are not the wheat or the weeds? Maybe we are both, depending on the garden and the time. Maybe we should learn not to pull so fast. It's not our call. In the Apostle Creed, it's written, is seated at the right hand of the Father, and will come again to judge the living and the dead, the wheat and the weed. I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you're in someone else's garden, don't be spreading weed seeds. The part of judgment, the position of judge has already been filled. Thank you.